Hi, I'm Deb Flashenberg. Thank you so much for watching the Do's and Don'ts of Doulas. So this was originally taped for Periscope, which is kind of like YouTube, except this time it's more interactive, where those that are watching can chime in and ask questions or say hi. So you'll notice that sometimes I might be stopping to answer a question or giving a little shout out. So if you're wondering, what's this going on in this video? Just explaining that. So maybe sometime you'll even catch one of our Periscopes. So I hope you enjoy Doula Do's and Don'ts. Have a great day. Hi, I'm Deb Flashenberg. I'm the founder and director of the Prenatal Yoga Center. I'm also a labor support doula, a certified Lamaze teacher, and a mother of two. And I want to talk today about the do's and don'ts of doulas. Hi Tara, Tara just came on. So we actually covered this topic a couple months ago, but I had some students come in and say that they hadn't heard it, so they want to talk a little bit more about it. So I originally wrote this blog on our website, prenatalyogacenter.com. Oh, I love seeing all the people joining. Hi. And it came about because I've heard a lot of stories. So I've been a doula. I'm not really, oops, hi from Russia. Wow, we have really a lot of people coming in. Sorry, got a little distracted from our feed. So I've been a doula here in New York City for about 12 years. I'm not practicing as much right now because I have two young kids and it just doesn't work with my lifestyle. But I still am a mentor to a lot of people, and I'm hearing tons and tons of birth stories and feedback from doulas. And some are just wonderful and inspiring, and some are a little concerning. Wow, hey from Kentucky. Hi. Wow, I love seeing everyone. All right, so let me get a little back to topic. So do's and don'ts of doulas. So let me first start and say, what is a doula? A doula is hired privately by a client, and they are there to provide emotional, physical, and informational support. And they meet with the parents or the mother ahead of time, and then they discuss a little bit of her birth plans and ideas, and then she's there available about 37 weeks until the mom gives birth, and she usually has one or two prenatal meetings ahead of time. So that's kind of what a doula is. She's hired by the couple or mother, and she's going to offer emotional, physical, and informational support to help the mom all through her labor, as well as help prepare and be ready for her labor and delivery. Oh wow, and even hi from Piazza, thank you. I love seeing everybody. So I want to talk a little bit about the do's of doulas, what you should be able to expect. So the do's of doulas. The doula should be able to provide evidence-based information, and she should be helping the mother, that should be helping the mother make decisions. The mother should not look to the doula to make decisions. If something comes up, it should be from the doula saying, this is information I can provide for you, however, I'm not going to make that decision for you. And the doula should have enough educational information, so if something comes up saying, we're going to start Pitocin, the doula can then say, okay, let's talk about what that means and how do you feel about that. Again, so the doula is not making the decision, yes to do it or not to do it. The doula should also be able to read the situation and take a look and say, all right, this is working, this is not working. So if the mom is really uncomfortable, perhaps saying, let's try getting you in the shower, let's try getting you into the bath, let's try having you take a walk. So she'll be able to read the situation and come up with different tactics that the mom can find for different pain management. The doula should also be able to help and provide guidance and support for the partner. So if the partner is feeling a little overwhelmed by the experience, how can the doula jump in and help the partner get involved? How can the doula help the partner be the best support for the mother as possible? So the doula is not there to take the place of the partner. The doula is there to jump in and see how they can all work together as a team. Now, I remember I have had times where as a doula, the parents would say, the dad's really uncomfortable with this. He may step out of the room sometimes. I had one very religious couple saying that the dad's going to be praying, and so it was my job to really take that role. However, there's other times the parents would say, I really want to get involved, I'm just not sure quite how. And so then I would be there figuring out, how can I get the dad involved? Maybe it's teaching him how to massage the mom's back. Maybe it's him telling her a story. Maybe it's sending the partner to go and get some ice chips and then apply a cold compress to the neck. So how can I look at the situation and help the partner get involved the best as possible? I'm also there to help create a birth plan, or I call birth preferences. So during that prenatal meeting, what I would do is listen and talk to the partners and figure out what is best. How do they want to have their birth? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said what is best. I got a little distracted by one of those tags coming up, so sorry about that. It's not what is best. What do the parents want? So if the parents are saying, we want to hold off on pain medication, we're going to talk about different pain methods for management. So we can look at, maybe they want to go on a ball, maybe they want to get in the shower, maybe they want to try massage, maybe they want to try open throat, different sounds. And so I'm going to start to take down all the lists of what they're saying to me. Maybe they're saying, I want to get to 5 centimeters and have an epidural. Maybe they're saying, I don't want an epidural and I want you to try to get me as far as possible without that. So I'm listening to their preferences, and I'm going to make a whole list of that and write it down and type it out and then send it back to them to see if it's something that I heard what they want and we're on the same page. I also believe that the doula should be able to help navigate the system. So what I mean by that is, when they get to the hospital, what happens next? They have to go into the waiting room, and they have to give their insurance stuff, and then they have to go through triage, and they have to get into a room. So kind of preparing the couples for that. Oops, I think Ursula had a question. It says, we don't have a...
Someone asked if we had a Snapchat account, and we do not have
someone
one.
asked if we have a Snapchat account. We do not. Sorry about that. And there's another question. So do you typically give them information from you directly, or do you provide links and papers? Both. So what happens when someone has a question for me? If I know that information, because I do have a fair amount of knowledge about childbirth education and birth, I will give that to them. I've written about over maybe 250 different blogs, so I'm going to often have something written up. And if I don't have that information, I want to give them links, places that they can find that information. All right, so back to navigating the system. So I also want to be there for the partners, the couple, if something comes up that maybe they have a bunch of students that are coming in the room. We have a lot of teaching hospitals here. And so at that point, what if the couple said, I don't want to have students? So we can discuss, if a student comes in the room, you can ask them not to be there. What if you're with a nurse that you really don't vibe with, and you're saying, this person's making me anxious, this person's making me nervous, I'm feeling judged. We can talk about that you don't have to have that person there, that you can ask to have a different nurse. So there's a bit about navigating the whole hospital system. That's what the doula can provide. I also believe the doula needs to have a backup doula, meaning that if she's at another birth, or if she's not feeling well, or there's something happening in her family that she's unable to be there, she needs to have a backup, because that couple is depending to have a doula at their birth. So the doula needs to make sure that there's a backup doula available. What I tend to do is I usually, because I remember I take notes during our prenatal meetings and I type them out, whoever I have as a backup, I make sure that they have all those notes available. So should that person have to jump in, they're not jumping in blindly. The couple can feel well supported that doula knows what their preferences are, knows what the history is, knows if anything is coming up for them, if there's maybe some fears around, perhaps maybe even knows different preferences for afterbirth stuff. So I want to make sure that my backup doula has all that information so she can jump in and help the couple should I not be there. And now this next one is really just my opinion. I think that the doula, especially a new doula, should have a mentor. So when I first started, it's really something that you learn during the experience. It's not something, the whole doula training, it's not particularly long, and then you're kind of set out there. And so for my first 3 births, I really didn't have any background, and you need those first 3 births to get certified. So I was really fortunate that I have a wonderful mentor here. And I used her for years, even after I needed necessarily a mentor. It's someone that I could just kind of chat with and talk about and decompress and explore what these births are about, and maybe even say, I really wish I had done this a little differently, or what would you have done in this situation? I remember my very first posterior birth, where the baby's head is towards mama's back. I really was thrown. I was thinking, well, this looks different than any labor pattern I'd seen. It was maybe my 5th birth. And I called my doula mentor, and I talked to her about it. And she's like, okay, I think it's a posterior, so let's do this, this, and this. And I was really thankful to have someone to bounce those ideas off of. So the do's of a doula, I think they need to provide evidence-based information to help the mom make a decision, not for the doula to make the decision. I think the doula needs to read the situation and understand how she can jump in and help switch tactics up or adjust things. I think the doula needs to help the partner to get involved, or not involved if that's what they want, and give guidance. I think the doula should help create the birth plan or the birth preferences. I also think the doula should be able to help navigate the system and help also have a backup if they're not available. And lastly, I think the doula should have a mentor. Now let's talk a little bit about the don'ts of a doula. These are a little bit more concerning to me, so because I've been hearing this come up. Now, doulas are not medically trained. They should not be catching the baby. They should not be doing cervical exams. They should not be making medical decisions. They are not medically trained. This is important to me because recently I've been hearing of some doulas that are kind of pushing the envelope. They want to get their clients to the hospital as late as possible to say like, wow, I got my client there at 9 centimeters, she was almost about to have the baby. And because they're pushing the envelopes, we've been having births at home unattended only by the doula. I think that's dangerous for the doula to step beyond that role. The doula is not medically trained. I also think that the doula should have a backup plan for herself if an emergency comes up. And this kind of comes into the story about the not medically trained. So a doula that I know had caught a baby, and it was actually a home birth, and instead of calling 911 or even calling the midwife to say, where are you? She saw that things were really progressing and she caught the baby. I think doulas that are starting to hit an emergency situation should have a backup plan. I remember very clearly one birth I did. It's a pretty quick birth. The whole thing is about 5 hours, and it progressed very quickly. So the mom had just gone to see her care provider, and the care provider said, you're like 4 or 5 centimeters. You can come in, you can go home, do whatever you want. And so she then soon came home, and I came over maybe about 45 minutes later. And when I got there, she was definitely showing signs that she really was close. The way she was moving, the sounds she was making, even kind of like a grunting sound. And at one point I said, I need you to lay down and just tell me if you feel a head. Insert your finger into your vagina and tell me if you feel a head, because I really thought we were that close. And she said, yes, I feel a head. And I knew we were only blocks from the hospital. So what I did is I said, okay, we need to go. However, if your water breaks between now and getting out the door, we are not leaving. We're calling 911. Because I knew with the bag still intact that there was more of a chance to get her to the hospital. Water didn't break. We actually got outside her building. Now here in New York City, there are cabs everywhere. So we actually found a cab. Right next to the cab was a police car. So we told the police to guide us, escort us to the hospital. And we got there. And the baby was out in about 20 minutes later. But I had in my head a quick backup plan. So I think the doula, in this case, you should know her response to an emergency situation. She should not be trying to deliver that baby. I also think it's important that the doula helps facilitate the mother's decisions and wishes, not have the birth that the doula wants. Now, a lot of birth workers really do believe in the natural process of birth. However, that does not mean if a mother's saying, I want pain medication, that the doula in any way should talk her out of it if that is not her wish. The doula should not be trying to live her birth or her birth desires. Maybe her birth didn't go so well, so she wants to relive it through someone else. The doula should be providing and supporting the birth that the mother wants, not the birth that the doula wants. That also brings me up to the doula should never ask the mother to lie to the care providers. I've heard that happening where the water would break and there is a certain clock that the moms go on. Some care providers saying, I want that baby out within 24 hours. I want you coming in as soon as your water breaks. The doula should never ask the mother to lie to the care provider because they are responsible for her medical care and they need to have the big picture. I also think, and this is a little more of a low-key one, that the doula should be completely available to answer her phone 24/7. I've known some doulas that are like, okay, I'm just going to sleep, I need these 8 hours, and turn their phone off. So the doula should always be available for the parent 24/7, starting at week 37. So that's a list of my don'ts. They're not medically trained. They should not be delivering the baby. I mean, granted, sometimes it happens, maybe it's a precipitous birth and it's so quick that there's no other thing, but in best possibility, the doula should not be delivering the baby. The doula should have a backup plan. You should discuss that she should have a plan should emergencies start to come up. The doula should not be having her birth, but the birth and help support the birth that the mother wants. The doula should not ask the mother to lie to the care provider. And lastly, the doula should always be available. So I hope that gives you a little information about the do's and don'ts of doulas. Now, I went through this and there was some distractions, so I apologize about that. that in the beginning when I was seeing everyone pop up. It was very exciting to see all that. So if you do want to see this a little bit more in depth, we do have this on our blog, prenatalyogacenter.com, under blog, and it's called The Do's and Don'ts of Doulas. So we'll take the last few minutes. There were some questions that came up. So if anyone has a question before we end, feel free to ask, or email or tweet. All right, I see there's no questions, so I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday morning and hopefully a good weekend coming up very soon. Thanks so much. Namaste.